Hello, it's cold. It's cold down in the garage, look. Well, it's November now, I suppose. A few things are happening. I've bought some bits, more of that later on in this episode, I'm sure. One of the things I have bought a lot of recently is clips, and some of them are still available from Ford, some of them are not. And 13 years ago or 10 years ago, I can't even remember how long ago it was, the last time I did this, most of it was still available, so things have changed. However, what wasn't available, and what has also changed, is that now some of the clips that you can't buy, you can get 3D printed. So these little puppies here, which are ones that hold on the brake pipes, I needed, I couldn't. This chap here, DC3D, designed and prints them. So these were 4 clips, and they weren't particularly cheap. They were about 16 quid, another few quid for postage. But nevertheless, if you need something, it turns out you can have them made now, which is quite interesting, I think. Seem to be pretty good quality too. Okay, I've bought some more things. Now, this is a thermostat housing, obviously. This one is cast metal, rather than the plastic version that goes on the car. So hopefully, it'll be a bit stronger, but crucially, I needed something for my engine management. Now, some more of that in just a bit. At the top and at the front, as you can see, there are holes. Now, there is a hole at the top for the sensor on my existing engine, but the sensor doesn't work with the management, and also not possible to get one in that size. And because it's missing the hole at the bottom on the latest type, it means I won't be able to use the standard temperature gauge in the car. However, I've discovered after a lot of research that these are 3/8 NPT thread, and this one is 1/8 NPT thread. It might be useful to you if you're doing something similar yourself. And you can get an adapter that goes from 3/8 to 12.5 by 1.5 pitch. So I've bought one of those to go in there, and I've bought a standard, here we go, standard temperature gauge. So this should screw into the front of there and allow me to use the standard instrument cluster temperature gauge in the car and give me a rough idea of what's going on. I will just add that normally these wouldn't really work because the original CVH thermostat housing earths itself against the side of the head by virtue of the fact it's made of metal, which the plastic ones obviously aren't. So this one should work well without having to have an extra earth cable or something similar. Back to the garage, and I've started whipping bits and pieces off the old thermostat, which, thermostat housing, which didn't want to come apart really. So the new thermostat that was in there is in there. This understands to be at the top, so I've sort of blow by bit. I've done that. I'm going to put just a little bit of PTFE tape around that. I'm sure I don't need to, but nevertheless I'm going to do it. And I've used my trusty pipe snips to cut down the blank to go on the end. Time to pop this back together with some shiny new bolts. And there we have it, all installed. They've still got the adapter to go and the top sensor. Otherwise, for the avoidance of doubt, yes, all the ZTEC ones seem to fit each other. Yes, the thermostats all seem to fit each other. So yeah, nice tight fit, happy with that. You can see the sensor down there, tucked out of the way. That send the signal to the dash, and the blank at the front there, because the CVH thermostats don't have the bit at the front, so that is redundant on these. So it is blocked off using a proper blank and clamped off. Okay, new day, and I've been given a couple of hours to crack on with stuff in the garden, which is quite nice. And naturally, I've gone down the garage because it's winter now, and well, the garden's in winter mode. So I've started refurbing the Driveshaft. This needs a new boot, so I've just, well, as you can see, I haven't bothered masking that. Why, I'm guessing you're going to ask me, have I not taken them completely out of the hubs, etc.? And the simple reason is because when you do, all the bearings and things will fall apart in the end, so I decided to leave that for the time being. Anyway, time to crack on with refurbishing the steering rack. Turns out the rods on both ends of the rack are seized into the rack, so that's that game over. However, I have managed to do a couple of other little bits and pieces, just a little bit of minor refurbishment. I hastily brought these in because it started to rain, but there are the bias valves for the brakes, and the radiator fan motor, and the heat exchanger shield that goes into the onto the bulkhead. Also all been done now. Just a little bit of a light refurbish. I've got a new gasket for this coming amongst some other bits. The drive shafts have dried okay, just about, bearing in mind the sudden rainstorm. So I'm quite happy with those for now. I might change for a new shaft at some point down the line, but for the moment they work, they don't click or anything else, so why not? And I've also stripped apart my shocks, and the top bearing is bust on that one. Hooray! Again. Not quite sure why. That it was on the leaky shock side, so perhaps just because there's not enough support for it, it's just banging into it perhaps, and it's just shattered it. The new seal has arrived for the heat exchanger pipes, and it's intensely satisfying just to pop these little bits of foam out. Really nicely made thing, this. It's made by a chap called, I think it's Ed Owers. Yeah, he does a few bits and pieces for Escorts and RS Turbos and the like. And yeah, really quite nice. I think size-wise it should line up quite nicely. I'm just going to pop the bit behind. Do it one-handed. Yeah, nice. And fit it up, and to be honest, it's a really good fit. We're happy with that. Another stint down the garage, and I've been sat here working out some of the interior wiring. I say interior wiring in the interior. Partly because it's confused the hell out of me as to what is what and what is going where. Now, I had a bit of a breakthrough. I couldn't figure out why this wire is the one for the rev counter. Now, this should be green, going to the back of the blue multi-plug. So, I stripped the loom back, and it's been previously replaced with a different colour. That explains a lot. So I thought, I wonder if that's the case with other bits and pieces. And yes, sure enough, I think it is. So this wire that goes here, this brown and green one here, goes into this purple and black one, which ultimately ended up at, I think, is the oil pressure switch. Right, okay, starting to make some sense this now. I've still got this green one, and I couldn't figure out what on earth that's for. I'm still not entirely sure, but it's spliced and goes into something else. Yeah, I'm still not sure. I'm gonna have to have a look and see what that belongs to and where that actually goes. But again, I think that's gonna be a case of checking back the wiring and trying to figure out where it is, because it might just be pure chance that this thing's green. And this one, well, this is an ignition live. I'm not entirely sure whether this is okay for me to run the ECU from, but I'm going to check that out. I might still replace the ignition switch because, well, the tabs for this are broken, the clip on the side, so it was previously just cable tied on there. So whether I go with something different, maybe. But at least I seem to have some sort of sense as to what's going where. Let's put those on there so that's not pulling on the wiring loom anyway. So I'd approach the wiring with a bit of trepidation, and, well, that's good news, I think. So fingers crossed, I should be able to sort that out, make some notes that make some sort of sense, and be able to ultimately wire this thing up in a way that that hopefully will just work properly. Fingers crossed. Got to check and see where the oil pressure switch is in the back of the ST170 blocks. I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you next time. In the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more. We've got some exciting stuff coming, some new bits and pieces arriving, and I'll let you know what's happening with my suspension and also my ECU. As always, you can find us on the socials. We are at UK Motor Talk everywhere.